So let's start. Let's start by deleting everything in the scene. Press A to select all the objects in your scene, X, and then delete. Let's go to the front view by pressing 1, then Shift A, Mesh, Cube. This is how you add an object to the scene. Press G on your keyboard, then Z to snap it to the Z-axis, and then you can move up. While going up, hold down Control on your keyboard, and this will snap the object to the grid. Once you get your desired location, click your mouse and then release Control on the keyboard. Now we have the object at the top of the grid. All right, this is not required, but I'm just trying to be precise with the modeling. We're going to start with the legs and then go up to the backrest of the chair. From this, I'm going to make the scaling go from the 3D cursor. So if I try to scale now by pressing S, you can see the object is scaling from the center of the object. I'd like it to scale from the 3D cursor. So how do we do this? Press the period key on your keyboard and select 3D cursor. Or you can just go up here and select 3D cursor. Again, make sure you're using shortcuts. They make your work faster. Press the period key and choose 3D cursor. Now when we scale, you can see it is scaling from the 3D cursor. All right, let's scale this up on the Z-axis, somewhere around here. The cube might be a bit too huge or round, so let's scale it down to something like this. I think this size is fine. Press Tab to go to edit mode. Remember from our last tutorial, our last class, when you press Tab, it switches between object mode and edit mode, right? Now press Shift Z to go to wireframe view. Press Shift Z again to go back to solid view. You can also do that by going up here to select wireframe or solid view. So again, Shift Z to go to wireframe view. This allows us to select the entire face of the object while in the front view. If you click and drag for a box select, it allows us to select the entire object, the entire vertices. All right, if you do this in solid view and then select this way, you might not pick the two vertices behind, as you can see. That's why you go to wireframe view and then box select so it picks everything like this. To box select, all you have to do is click outside and then drag to select everything. I want the legs to be a bit taller, so select everything and G, then Z to move it up to about this level. From here, we can extrude one more time, and then we want this to be a bit taller than the legs. Press G and X to snap the vertices to the X-axis. We want the backrest to be about this far back. This should be fine. Let's see. It should work. We can always come back to tweak it if you feel like it's maybe too tall or too sharp. For now, let's see what this looks like. On second thought, let's move it up to about this level. Yeah, I think this will work. Yeah, this is the front view, and we happen to be working from the front view instead of the side view. So this should be the side of the chair. We should be working from the side view, not the front view. I want to rotate this object, rotate it to the side. Now we're in the side view, and this is supposed to be the front view. You know what? I'll just go ahead and show you what I mean. Press 1, this is the front view. If you press 3, it takes you to the right view, right? So this is what you want to do. Shift Z, and then you want to rotate this. Let's see, you want to rotate it this way so that when you go to the front view, the object is facing directly towards you, and we can see the angle like so. But you don't want to just do this by manually guessing where it should be. What we should do is go to the top view by pressing 7, then R to rotate and type magnet is 90, then enter. This has successfully rotated the object to the front view. From this point forward, we want to move the object to the right. Press Tab. From the front view, the object looks a bit too thin, so let's scale this on the X-axis. S then X, and move your mouse until it's about this thick. Something like this is fine. Yeah, let's go back to the side view. Then let's do the same box select. Click and drag. Click and drag. It takes a little bit of experimenting to get your preferred size. Yeah, I'd like the size to be this thick. Looks decent. G then Y. That is G and Y, while I'm still selecting the vertices around the backside of the object. Yeah, this looks good. Go to the front view, press A to select the entire object, then G and X to move the object. You want to make sure you're doing this in edit mode and not object mode. Why am I doing this in edit mode and not object mode? If I press G and X to move this in object mode, you can see the origin point, this orange dot here, which is the origin, moves along with the object as I move it to the right. If I do this in edit mode, and then select all the vertices by pressing A, then G and X to snap the selection to the x-axis, you see the geometry moves to the right while the origin point stays in the center. We want this because we'll be using the mirror modifier to create the second side of the object, so you don't have to model the left and then go back modeling the right side. This would be a good time to introduce the mirror tool. About this should be fine. It might not make sense now, but you'll understand as we proceed. Let's say we have our object here. What you want to do is apply the rotation and scale. Control A to apply, and then choose Rotation and Scale. Now go to our modifier stack. This is a new one. Click the tab that looks like a spanner wrench. Click Add Modifier, Generate, Mirror. All right, select Mirror. You can see the object on the right is now on the left side. This is because we left our origin at the center of the page. It's basically mirroring based on the distance between this point towards the right and the origin point towards the left. If we mirror on the y-axis and turn off X, you can see from the right side, this is the origin point at the center, so it's mirroring based on the y-axis. If you turn this to Z and turn off Y, you can see the origin point again is at this point, and it is mirroring from this point up and down. So it's strictly based on where your origin point is. That's why it was important to leave the origin point at the center and then move the object to the right. Go back to mirroring on the x-axis and turn off Z. Press Ctrl R to add an edge loop. You can see the edge loop appearing and disappearing. That's because I haven't confirmed where I want the loop to be. If this is where I want the loop, I click once and then right-click to let it go. Let's undo that. Ctrl Z. Again, Ctrl R to put the edge loop, click once to accept, and then you can move it up and down before you confirm by left-clicking, or just right-click to leave it where it was initially. Before we move forward, if you press Ctrl R and then scroll the middle mouse button up, it allows you to add multiple edge loops. But we don't want multiple edge loops right now. So press Ctrl R, click once, and move your mouse upward until we're around this point. We're going to extrude our chair seat from this position. Switch to face select mode and click this face. Press 3 to go to the side view and E to extrude. Move your mouse along the y-axis in front to determine the length of the chair. I think somewhere around here should be fine. Again, we can always go back to tweak things. We're just eyeballing everything. Once you get your desired position, click to confirm the length. Middle mouse button, hold it down to pan around, and you can see it's starting to look interesting, right? From this point forward, we want to add the backrest planks, the ones that run horizontally along the x-axis. Now that we have what we want here, I was going to say let's exit edit mode so we can add a new object and scale a cube to fit this position. But what we should do instead to keep everything the same size is, while face select is active, click to select this face. Press Shift D to duplicate, then right-click to let go. It keeps the face exactly where it is, but it's already duplicated. Don't click anywhere else at this point. If you press G, you can see we still have the duplicate face sitting exactly on the spot. Now press P to separate selection. Then exit edit mode. Click outside and try to select the single object. You can see it is now a separate object from what we had before. If you press Tab now to go to edit mode, you can see this is the only geometry selected. Double-click a couple of times to get this selection. Or, if you want to make things easier for yourself, select the other object. Go to the filter options here. Turn on the Restrict Select filter, and then disable this layer so you can't accidentally pick it. Now, you cannot select that object because you've disabled selection in this menu. Select the new object. I like to have everything enabled anyway because I jump back and forth. Select this face, Shift D to duplicate, P, selection to separate. Then Tab, press A to select everything, E to extrude, X, then delete faces to keep it open. Select this and this, enable clipping G and X to snap and merge at the center. Now we have this as a separate object. Instead of cutting it, I'll scale this and make duplicates, a more beginner-friendly approach. Select this vertex. We want the 3D cursor on this selection. Shift S cursor to selected. Now scaling will be around the 3D cursor. Select the entire object, S then Y, to scale on Y around the 3D cursor. This is the result I'm trying to achieve. One single plank we can duplicate for the others. If it's too slim, select these faces and GY to move forward a bit. All right, something like this should be fine. You can always scale down if it's too thick. Now duplicate. Shift D, then G and Y. Move it down and leave some space. Then Shift R to repeat the last transform. If Shift R doesn't repeat as expected, remember, the last command sequence needs to be Shift D, G, Y without clicking between steps. So from top view, Shift D, don't click, G, Y, move to leave a little space, click. Now Shift R repeats the duplicate plus move at the same offset. Good. Select the three objects and press Ctrl J to join them. Now they're a single object. I don't want extra space here. So since our cursor is still at this point and our pivot is set to 3D cursor, press S then Y to scale from that point and close the gap a bit. Now Ctrl A to apply rotation and scale. We want another point where the bench goes up into the armrest backrest. Before that, let's add the backrest planks. We can either make duplicates or extrude from the existing mesh. Extruding will be faster and more accurate. Ctrl R, move this up to somewhere around here. You can slide vertices by pressing G twice, GG to edge slide. Pressing G once will move freely, which can mess things up. So use GG. Somewhere around here is fine. Add another around here. Remember, we have mirror turned on, so whatever we do on one side is replicated on the other. Add an edge loop at the center, then Ctrl B to bevel slightly to create a central strip. We'll pick the centerpiece and extrude it to meet the center. Let's also add 2 more loops near the bottom, so the backrest planks are of irregular sizes, not equal. Select faces for the smallest strip, Shift D to duplicate, right-click to keep in place, then P selection. Press A to select everything, 1 for the front view, E to extrude. Again, we don't want faces in the middle. Press X, delete faces, so we have open edges. Enable cavity in the viewport, and shadow if you like, to better visualize. It won't affect final render. It's just for viewport clarity. Select the mesh, ensure clipping is on, and GX to move until the halves touch at the center. This gives us planks of different sizes, unlike the seat slats, which are equal. I'd also like to customize them so they're not all straight. Before we do that, apply the mirror on this object and then remove the center edges. Go to Edit Mode, select the center edges, X, Dissolve Edges. I want to be able to move points without the L-shaped constraint. Switch between solid and wireframe with Shift Z or use the viewport buttons. Press Tab to Edit Mode, Front View 1, Shift Z, select this, GZ to move it somewhere down here. I'll come back and rotate slightly because it's not perfectly straight. Move another up, scale on Z a bit, just creating the idea of slight deformation. I like the idea of it not being perfect. That's the look I'm going for. Now we can proceed with creating the armrests. To keep the same thickness as the legs behind, select that mesh's face, Shift D to duplicate. Go to the side view, GY to move it to the front, lining it up with this vertex. E to extrude up to somewhere around here, then E again, or just GZ to pull it all the way up. Extrude one more time. Select the face and extrude. Zoom in as needed to place it properly. Select vertices GZ, GY as needed to intersect slightly so it looks attached. Now we have the bench shape. I'd also like to tilt the legs a bit backward instead of straight up. Shift Z. Select the leg vertices, GY, to move them back, following the grid so it aligns nicely. This already looks interesting. For a beginner level, you could accept this as your final result, but I'd like to make this shape more interesting and give this some kind of curve. Create a guiding circle for the corner radius. Select the corner vertex on the L shape, Shift S, cursor to selected. Shift A, circle. Set vertices to 16, default might be 32. Rotate the circle on Y by 90 degrees, enter. Shift Z to see it clearly. Scale the circle so it touches the horizontal and vertical guides. GY to align. Ensure one point touches the horizontal and another the vertical edge. Press Tab to Edit Mode, box select the unwanted half, and X delete vertices to leave a quarter arc. Select an end, E to extrude along Y to pass through the mesh. Select the other end, E along Z to meet the vertical. Now you have a clean L-curve path. From front view, press E to extrude along X to give it width matching the board. Press G and S to move and scale as needed to match thickness of the previous mesh model. Add a Solidify modifier via Add Modifier, Generate Solidify. Adjust thickness in side view until it matches the plank thickness. You'll get an even thickness all the way. Tuck ends inside the old mesh. Tab, move end vertices back so they're hidden. Align the bottom to the floor, GZ. Hide the previous mesh to compare. If there's Z fighting, surfaces overlapping, scale slightly on X or Y to tuck it in a bit. Duplicate to the other side with Mirror. First, Control A to apply rotation and scale. If the scale changes, refit as needed. Make sure the origin is at world center for mirroring. Shift C to snap cursor to world origin. Right-click the object, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. Now add mirror. The mirrored handle appears on the other side. Adjust height position if desired, GZ, GY. To remove blockiness, add subdivision surface, but first add supporting edge loops. Control R near edges, tight loops near corners, a couple across the length, etc. After adding loops, apply subdivision surface. Add modifier, generate subdivision surface. Right-click Shade Smooth. Looks clean. Press to leave local view. Now bevel the remaining sharp objects. Select everything that needs bevels. Control A to apply rotation and scale first. Important, bevel behaves badly otherwise. Add bevel. Add modifier bevel. Increase segments to 4. Adjust amount. For example, 0.05 works here. Instead of repeating for each object, select other objects, then select the beveled one last. Control L, copy modifiers. If a mirrored object loses its mirror because you copied from a non-mirrored one, just apply the mirror where appropriate and then recopy or copy bevel separately. In Object Data Properties, Normals, enable Auto Smooth for each object to get crisp shading. That's it for this tutorial. I might turn on Shadow now to get a better feel for what the object looks like in a real scene. This tutorial was a bit longer than intended because of a few mistakes. I'm supposed to edit the mistakes out, but I want you to learn from them too. If you ever run into trouble, you'll know how to fix it. There's no one-way solution to modeling. As you model, you'll run into problems you have to pause and figure out. If you eventually do, you learn something. I understand some of the steps may be confusing, so you may want to watch this a few times. It takes a bit of trial and error. I am no expert myself, as you can see. See you in the next class.